Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with spring vegetable tartine. That's right, as you may know, tartine is just a fancy foodie word for an open-faced sandwich. And personally, I do think it sounds a little cooler, but that's not why I use it. I use it because tartine takes up so many fewer characters than open-faced sandwich on Twitter, which is kind of a big deal when I go on there to promote this later. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started with something I've cleverly hid underneath that shaved vegetable salad, the real star of the show, white anchovies. Whoops, hold on. Do not click off the video yet just because I said anchovy. This is not the kind of anchovy you don't like. This is the other kind of anchovy you don't know about and will actually love. Because this type of anchovy is not cured in salt, but rather marinated in vinegar and oil. So they are much less salty, much milder in flavor, and yet still incredibly savory and delicious. So if you do want your spring vegetable tartine to taste like mine, you will need to find some of these. And then besides hopefully finding some Boquerones, we're also going to need to make up a Meyer lemon aioli with which to spread on our toast. And that's going to start by adding a few sliced garlic cloves to our mortar, or at least attempt to. I kind of missed. And we will also toss in a pinch of salt. And what we want to do is smash and grind that into a paste. Okay, we want something nice and smooth. So we will continue to mix and mash, smash and bash that garlic until it looks something like this. At which point we'll stop and add the following ingredients. The first of which would be some lemon zest. And as we mentioned, we're doing a Meyer lemon aioli, which is why that zest is such a beautiful color. It kind of looks like an orange, but it's not. And then we'll do a little pinch of cayenne, for various reasons, as well as a little bit of that freshly squeezed Meyer lemon juice. And yes, feel free to use regular lemons here, but the Meyer lemon is a little sweeter, a little more mild, and a little more fragrant. So if you can find those Meyer lemons, give them a try. Otherwise, standard issue will be fine. And then we can go ahead and add our homemade mayonnaise, which this time I bought at the store. So we'll add that in and we'll stir everything together. And once all that's thoroughly and thoughtfully mixed together, that's pretty much it. What we are calling a Meyer lemon aioli is done. Except, of course, for giving it a little taste, as is tradition. And once that's tasting exactly how we want, we can use it right away or simply wrap it up and keep in the fridge until needed. And then besides a couple slices of bread, the only other major component to this dish would be some kind of shaved spring vegetable salad. And I said shaved, but I really meant peeled. So what I have here is what they're calling rainbow carrots, which I have worked over with my potato peeler to make those beautiful thin strips. I also have a little bit of curly endive, and not one but two kinds of radishes. I got some watermelon radishes and some regular peasant radishes. And then last but not least, I'm also going to use some edible flowers. And the variety I'm using here is called calendula, which really don't taste like much. And if I'm being perfectly honest, are really just here for the appearance. But above and beyond that, they apparently have lots of health benefits. But anyway, that's what I'll be using to top my tartines, which at this point we are ready to start building. So first up, we're going to need to slice and toast a couple pieces of nice French bread. And I do prefer day-old, but fresh bread is fine. And what we'll do is toast that up before covering it with copious amounts of our Meyer lemon aioli. So we want to be very generous here. Spread it on thickly, all the way to the edges. And when in doubt, add a little bit more. And if it looks like that one in the foreground has a little extra aioli, it does. That's mine. And then once our toast has been severely slathered with that mayo, we will top it with our white anchovy fillets, which I like to do skin side up because it's so beautiful. And I'm going to be placing down 4 fillet per tartine, which I believe is the perfect amount. We want to get some of that anchovy in every bite, but we don't want it to completely overpower our shaved vegetables on top. So sure, you could cover the surface, but for me this is the perfect portion. So we'll top that with our anchovies. And then I'm going to show you a huge pro tip here. What we want to do is slice these before we top them with our vegetables and flowers. And that's because, as I've learned the hard way, if you cut them once all your veggies are piled on top, everything kind of flies all over and falls off and you kind of wreck your presentation. So for me, this is much, much easier. And once those are cut, we're ready to top with our veggies. So what we'll do is we'll throw everything into a bowl, except for our flowers. And we'll dress that very simply with a little bit of freshly squeezed lemon juice and a tiny drizzle of olive oil. And we'll toss that with our hands, or any hand-like kitchen utensil. And as soon as that's mixed, we can go ahead and top our tartines. And generally my strategy here is to start with the lighter, fluffier stuff. So I'll start by placing down that curly endive and those beautifully delicate strips of carrot. And then once that's placed down, we will move on to our sliced radishes, and we'll place those in and around wherever we think they look good. And by the way, I kind of feel foolish telling you, because it's pretty obvious, but there are so many kinds of vegetables you can use for this. I mean, things like artichoke or asparagus or shaved fennel would be beautiful here. So part of the fun making something like this is using exactly what you want. You are, after all, the Charlie Sheen of your spring vegetable tartine, so it's up to you to make sure you're winning. Speaking of which, once our shaved and or sliced vegetables are down, I'm going to go ahead and pull off and scatter over my flower petals. And yes, of course I did this she loves me not game. And how did it turn out? Take a look. She loves me. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and top our tartines with our edible flowers. And then last but not least, because I have an herb garden, and my Italian parsley plant had all this new growth, I decided to scatter over a few tender leaves. So I finished up with a little bit of baby parsley, and my spring vegetable tartines were done. And looking just, I was going to say gorgeous, but I always say gorgeous. So I guess I'll go with really gorgeous. But anyway, besides their stunning appearance, these are by far, especially if you use the white anchovies, one of the most delicious cold sandwiches you'll ever eat. I mean, come on, we have crispy toast soaked with a garlicky, lemony mayonnaise, and then all that's topped with those insanely delicious white anchovies and crisp, crunchy shaved vegetable salad. Just absolutely amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and take one more bite, but before I do, let me go Bernie Sanders on this and redistribute some of that topping. There we go. So anyway, that's it, spring vegetable tartine. I really hope this inspires you to go out and find and try white anchovies. But I am realistic. And I do realize that some of you are not going to try those no matter what I say. So at least promise me you'll try this with tuna or bacon, okay? I mean, this is the kind of thing we should be eating in one form or another, like 2 or 3 times a week. So I really do hope you give this a try soon. Head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.